Hello again there, everybody. This is going to be Jund League number 103. We finally were able to get some copies of Dauthi Voidwalker, so we're trying out 2 today because that's just the number I was able to acquire. Ideally, I'm able to play more just so I can get some useful data, which would mean I would want to see it more often than not. But 2 is better than none, so we're just going to play the 2 copies of Dauthi Voidwalker in a list very similar to the lists that I've been playing previously. The main deck cut for the 2 Voidwalkers were the 2 Dark Confidants. It's something I'm not happy about. I still think Dark Confidant plays a pretty important role in a lot of spots. But it fills a similar spot on the curve, so it felt like a pretty clean 2-for-2 split. Or sorry, 2-for-2 swap when I already only had 2 Bobs. And I wasn't really wanting to cut any of the rest of the cards, so we'll see how it feels. Definitely going to miss Bob, but we'll see if maybe Voidwalker is an adequate replacement, at least right now. Another change that I've made is I've included 2 copies of Void Mirror. Whenever a player casts a spell, if no colored mana was spent to cast it, counter that spell. So we expect this to be very good versus all of the Cascade decks that are running around right now. Bit of a nomba with our own Cascade cards, but in the matchups where Void Mirror's effect is good, I'm just more than okay not getting the extra card off of Bloodbraid if it means that Void Mirror is preventing us from falling behind. So we expect Void Mirror to be very good versus, again, all those Cascade decks. It's also going to be good versus Eldrazi Tron. It will also be good versus regular Tron. It'll be less good versus regular Tron because the opponent can always just cast a spell using green mana from a basic forest or using colored mana from one of the various egg effects, be it Sphere or Star. So, I mean, it's still possible that they get to resolve spells, but it does make it a lot harder. So we'll expect it to be good there. Let's take a look at the current Modern metagame. And again, Modern Horizons has only been out for about a week now. So this on 30-day refresh rate isn't the most in tune with the past week's worth of stuff since everyone's got a bunch of sweet brews. So I'll go ahead and I'll set this to a 7-day refresh rate. And here we see a much different picture. We've got Amulet Titan in at first. Followed by this cool Stoneblade deck. This is the deck trying to ephemerate Grief as early as turn 1. We've got this Teamer deck, and this the Teamer deck and this Wooburg deck, both trying to cascade into either Living End or the Overwhelming Stampede. We've got this really cool Soul Typhoon deck trying to reanimate the Feasting Troll King as early as turn 2. So lots of new and really exciting stuff, and even Jund creeping back up onto the leaderboard, which is exciting, in at number 11. So that's what the top 15 is looking like this week. And again, more broadly, here's the 30-day that I usually do. And let's get into the matches. Howsy says, how are we feeling about Shatterstorm instead of Force, especially if lots of affinity starts showing up? Too slow? Yeah, I mean, 0 mana on Force of Vigor is ridiculously good. Shatterstorm you got to spend a lot of mana on. It's 4, right? I think I'd much rather just the 0 mana instant. And we're not even 2-for-1ing ourselves because Force allows you to target 2 things. So I think Force is going to be way ahead of something that costs literally 4 mana. I was going to say 4 times as much, but it's an infinite amount times as much because Force is literally free. J Money. I feel like I've played this person a few times before. This looks like a keep. So obviously both our Verdants are going to have to get black sources for the Lilianas. I'm going to want to get red sooner rather than later for this Bolt, so I think I'm Blood Crypting. And immediately we play against Tron. Alright, well this will be a good test of our sideboard cards. Inquisition was a fine draw. Hopefully if they only got one route to Sylvan Scrying, then we can take it with this this Inquisition. So not a bad draw. I still expect to lose game 1 an overwhelming amount of the time. Yeah, I think I'm gonna take the Scrying. It's their clearest route to the Tron. If they just draw another Tron land, they can map. All right, well they are okay not assembling Tron. Relic. All right, well that's gonna make Goyf not great, which is one of our better threats. There it is. All right. Let's, I suppose, just fetch Shock and Overgrown Tomb. Take a land out of the deck. I could obviously just play basic forest, but I'm not really wanting to draw many more lands. It seems like it's not gonna matter. Like it's such a small percentage in bump that we don't draw a land, but we're probably gonna hit lands eventually anyway. Alright, please no Tron land. Bummer. Alright, so they're going to have Tron into Karn next turn. They've got sorcery, we'll remove sorcery. If they minus the Karn, we'll be able to lightning bolt it. Let's Liliana first so we can discard to the Goyf. It's official, watching dogs nudge their ways into a room is the cutest thing. Yes, this is true. I'll just ditch the push. There's no way that's ever good. So they're going to probably keep mine and Karn, so they're going to ditch their other card. Thing is, like, they don't even have to minus their Karn because they could just activate the Relic, which is pretty annoying. Hopefully they minus their Karn for whatever reason. If we draw a land, we could also just attack it. They should almost definitely plus this Karn here, especially because Relic means we can't attack it profitably. I guess they could also just like minus on the red source, which would also be pretty backbreaking. But that feels like the less obviously good play. Think about the only bad thing they could do here would be to minus on like Goyf or Liliana. I think as long as they don't do that, they're in a real good spot. Alright, and they've plussed. Ditch a Lily. Alright, so we can attack the Karn, but again, the Relic makes it a lot less good. Bummer. Alright, well, they can still just activate the Relic, so I guess I'll attack Karn first. That probably means they pop the Relic. And then I'll plus after so I can re-add to the graveyard. They might also just not pop the Relic. They really don't have to. fact, they probably just shouldn't pop the relic. I guess if they're going to anyway, because we're going to plus with the Liliana, then now is a fine time to do it. So yeah, I think doing it now makes some sense. Is there any reason to just bolt the Karn so that way we add instant, we hit it for a total of 4, put it down to 6? If they then minus it, we could Bloodbraid attack it down. Yeah, I think I'm into it. Things that has me discarding my Bloodbraid. I do want to plus the Liliana to at least threaten them. But playing second Goyf is making me pretty weak to a Blast Zone. I mean, there's not really a good way to do it. I guess I'm just going to play Goyf and ditch a Bloodbraid. Hit Karn for 1. And then I'll play the other Goyf. Alright, I mean, the Goyfs are kind of big again. If their hand is just blanks, then we've got a shot, but them discarding Ballista means it can't possibly be the case. Alright. Alright, let's try for some sideboard cards. So we've got triple Force of Vigor. We've got 2 Obsidian Charma. We've got 2 Void Mirror. And to a lesser extent, to prevent the searching, we've got Ashiok. The Terminates look bad. The Fatal Pushes look bad. I think the discard on the play is kind of just a necessary evil. It's not great, but it's better than just what we've taken out so far. Bolts will be nice for stealing or erase, but that's about it. I'm gonna cut a Ren in 6 when it doesn't really kill anything. I guess I could just take the other 2 bolts out as well. They go at Planeswalkers, but that seems about their best case use. I think I'm just gonna do this and try to keep all the action stuff. Maybe it's better to keep the Ren in 6 just because it ups my green card count for the Force of Vigor. Right now we're at 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 green cards that aren't Force of Vigor. I think I'm wanting to just put another green card in the deck and take out a non-green card. I think I'm going to take out a Bloodbraid. Reason being is I've got lots of heavy hitting threats early on the curve as well, even more so now that we're also playing Voidwalker. And they're not really going to be in the business of killing my threats, so I think I'm okay going down a threat, especially when we're even bringing 2 more in. Let's give that a go. Alright, let's hopefully try out some cool new sideboard tech. Let's go first. Yeah, I mean, we've got Terminal Inquisition, and we've got, assuming we find a red source, we've got a Charmaw, which feels like it's going to be pretty strong. And if we don't hit the Charmaw, we can at least a Liliana. We've got a lot of really good draws. Let's keep. So we'll get Blood Crypt on 1, first red source, and obviously we want Inquisition. They mulligan to 4. Yeah, BBE is green, so it would have been force pitchable. So maybe I should have got like a Bone Crusher or something. All right, let's do this. They're on 4. They've got Mine, Map, Stirrings, and the Star. I guess I'm taking Map because any Tron land would have them easily assembling the Tron. Okay, well I guess that's a Stomp if we feel like it. Go. So if we can find a red source off of the top, assuming they play a colorless land, we'll be very ahead. Yep, alright. Can we get a red source, please? Let's just use our mana here. See no real reason to hold it. Red source for the W, kind of? No, but that's good too. They're at 2 cards in hand. We don't know any of them, though. So next turn, they cannot both assemble the Tron and play something big. I guess they could play something that costs 4. Or sorry, 3, because they could like sack, and then play something that costs 3. I think I just want to get the Liliana working towards ultimate, and then next turn I can Void Mirror. I guess Oblivion Stone would be the one way that it bites me. So let's just hope for no Oblivion Stone, and then we'll ditch a Bloodbraid. Could have also just cast the Bone Crusher to get some pressure going, but while there's so few on resources, I think I like trying to get those last few to really sweep the legs. There's the tower. Surprise, surprise. Alright, so we hope for no O-Stone. Come on, just pass. Just pass. We got 2 cool sideboard cards. I want to get to casting them. Sure. Well, that's gonna give them green mana, so their first spell won't get countered by Void Mirror, but we also get to eat the last card in their hand with Liliana. Damn, that's not a red source. Alright, let's plus, I guess, ditch Peatland. I guess I could have sacrificed this Peatland, because if I spike a red source, it would have just worked immediately, but now that I've already done this, let's just get the Void Mirror down. Alright, so if they're smart and just use the green on a payoff, we'll have a much harder time. Oh, they just have the green too. Boo! Crap. Yep, we drew a red source. Yep, I got punished. I mean, we can still do it. We can sacrifice the Peatland so that way Blackleaf Cliffs comes in untapped, which would have us taking them off of Tron, but they could also just -5. Yeah, bummer. And then killing a non-Tron land, so that way if they have to sacrifice like a tower or like a map or something, to find the last Tron land, the Tron land they untap with isn't the big one. Yeah, so I got punished. I maybe should have taken the high road last turn. It would have worked out pretty well. I don't mean, thank you for the follow, I appreciate it. Yep, I punted. And then them having the forest makes this a lot harder. No, yeah, we're just dead. We can't beat the in-play Ugin, unfortunately. Yep, I punted. It wasn't even necessarily a punt, right? I mean, I guess it was, because even had I sacrificed the Peatland on that prior turn, I already had the land in play, so I still could have played the Void Mirror even if I missed. So yeah, I definitely should have just led on sacrificing the Peatland in hopes of hitting the red. Because if I hit the red, we do the Charmaw turn earlier, and then they're not Ugining us. Saying the more you think about it, the more you dislike the Ponza Dragon. The Ponza Dragon has been pretty good for me so far. It would have been phenomenal there had I not derped, but I derped. I mean, I've cast it twice now, and it's been great both times, or would have been great both times had I not been stupid about it. Always sucks starting off a league with a punt. You think you like just pillage more? The versatility between lands and artifacts is nice, especially against Tron. But I mean, we are not at all weak to artifacts, especially playing 3 Force of Vigor. Like I still think that Charmaw is significantly better, especially versus Tron. because a lot of the problems that Jund has is having adequate disruption is great and all, but if you're not also supplying a clock to leverage your disruption, then the opponent could pretty easily just get out from under it. Especially in the case of Tron, where like the entire point of the deck is being able to assemble the Tron. So the dragon being able to disrupt and be a meaningful clock that's evasive is very powerful. So like even specifically versus Tron, I like the dragon a lot more than Pillage. They've mulliganed once. Allow me to help you do it again. Alright, oh, so it's the new Witch's Oven stuff. So no matter what I take, they just get to do the other thing on turn 1. I think Witch's Oven's going to be more problematic. My removal spells kill the goose. I don't have any right now. But Oven's going to be the harder permanent to deal with. You'll sketch art traumas just to be safe, sure. There's the goose. Alright, so we don't know whether or not the Inquisition's hitting anything. Ideally, I just draw a fetch for this Renin 6. Just another Liliana. Alright, well, I mean, I could cast the Inquisition and just kind of cross my fingers. I think I will, only because my mana's kind of tied up on the following turns anyway. So, I mean, this doesn't really feel like it's going to be getting much better if I just wait. Alright, let's I guess kill the bird. They can make another food off of it, which is problematic. But this at least means that even if they wanted to, they couldn't activate Urza Saga on the first go. So this is sacrifice 3 food to reanimate. It doesn't come back with haste though. So I mean we've got outs to just killing it. So they're just gonna get to activate this, then activate it again. If we plus the Liliana here, they're just gonna bin this, and then their construct gets to just kill the Liliana anyway. I guess if I plus and just ditch other Liliana. The thing is, like, the Goyf might actually just be able to get in front of the constructs to make it not good for them to attack the Liliana. They'd at least have to throw a construct away. I can't play both the Renin 6 and the Tarmogoyf, unfortunately. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cast the Renin 6. Buy back the land plus the Liliana. Things like their things are already 3/3s. Assuming they activate this upkeep, they're going to attack as 4/4s. So unless I put another type in the yard, Goyf is going to be smaller anyway. But I mean, this does put another type in the yard. We'll have it being a 4/5, which maybe defends Liliana. Yeah, I think I actually kind of like that more. So we'll play Goyf plus Liliana, ditch Renin 6. I think Renin 6 is probably just too slow at this point. Which means I definitely should be plussing Liliana before... I mean, they're gonna ditch the troll anyway. There's not really a question about that. So Goyf will at least be bigger than the construct that could attack Liliana. So maybe we get to use Liliana as another edict, and then can use this one as an edict as well. Yeah, this is going to be an enchantment in the yard, so Goyf will be big. I mean, it's 5/6 already. Well, it'll be 6/7. This is going to get another artifact, though, which is going to make these 5. So this means they can make another food, which means they can bring back the Troll King. Alright, so that's the third food. They can bring back the Troll King without having to discard to the cookbook. And this does happen at instant speed, right? I'm not sure what that's about. Is there a way that they plan on removing a type from the yard? If they reanimate the Feasting Troll King, they still have creature in the yard. I'm not sure what's gonna bite me here, but I'm willing to find out. Oh, duh. They just make it bigger. Yep, that does make sense. Wow, today is a day I'm not playing very well. So we don't know anything. They get to just bring the Troll King. Alright, we're dead. I was like, there's no way they can grow with it, right? There's no way they can shrink my Goyf, but I just forgot that they could just grow their dude. Alright, so let's bring in the Ashiok. Let's bring in the Force of Vigors again. Let's bring in the Ley Lines. Let's bring in the Spell Bombs. Void Mirror not going to be good here. Does Brutality do anything? Not really. I guess it kills Bird, but that's about it. Liliana does not seem very good here, especially when they have so many rinky-dinky things to sacrifice, and then us plussing could actually just be good for them. Push also seems to be on the weaker side. Bolt kills just about everything we're worried about. Terminate kills the big stuff. I think I want to cut some of the 1-mana removal. And there's nothing nutty that the Voidwalker is going to let us cast. Let's just cut those as well. I guess I just cut some discard spells. The discard can stop the nutty draws though, so I'm kind of reluctant to cut those. Why Ashiok? Because they're playing a Reanimator deck. So I mean, as long as they don't both bin the Troll King and reanimate it in the same turn, I expect Ashiok to be pretty strong. We need 2 more cuts. Yeah, maybe it is just more 1-mana removal. Maybe 1 Inquisition. Sure. Definitely didn't forget that it's Graveyard Hate, not at all. How have I liked Bone Crusher over Abrupt Decay? It's been quite good. Having access to an interactive spell that's also a threat has felt very strong. Alright, well, we've got the Ley Line. If they've got something like a Nature's Claim, we could also just take it with Inquisition. So this hand looks great. They've got Trail of Crumbs, Cauldron Familiar, Fatal Push. Let's take that Trail. Go. And I think right now we want to just draw Renin 6 so we can continue hitting land drops. If they play Cauldron Familiar, we can bolt it pretty cleanly because it'll just never come back. There goes Street Wraith. There's the Familiar. Drew Goyf. Well, that's a 2-3. They do already have a Fatal Push for it, though, so I'm not going to play right into their hand when I can do other things first. So I guess we're playing Thoughtseize here. Unless I plan on Fetch Shocking or Red Source, I should Fetch Shock first. I think I am bolting this. It would just be if they can find a way to discard and play Asmo. That could be problematic, but they discarded a card last turn, so they would have played Asmo if they had it. So they would need to both draw Asmo and have another way to cycle for free. So I think it's probably just fine to Thoughtseize off of Overgrown Tomb. Alright, they've got actual nothing. So Goyf will be clear to land next turn. Let's just do this now. Drew a Trail of Crumbs. That's brutal. One of their better draws here. I mean, we've got a good amount of pressure, so maybe they just don't have enough time to execute this game plan. But Trail was long term a pretty good draw for them here. Cookbook. Alright, well, these have been two very strong draws. They can get a value engine going with their Trail of Crumbs and their Cookbook. So gonna have to kind of race this engine here. I mean, it takes a good amount of mana to activate it each time, but they're redrawing plus gaining 3 every time. So I feel like it's gonna be a game of, can I get enough pressure going? We drew Ashiok. Well, it doesn't do a whole lot at the moment, so let's just get that pressure that I was talking about going. We want more threats here, ideally. Alright, well, that's not another threat. I guess it redraws. Let me get to attack. I could sacrifice the Spell Bomb to get 1 extra damage, but I think I want to get the card off of it. Maybe that's wrong, because we would have 7 in play already, but they're going to be gaining life, so it doesn't actually reduce the clock by a turn. You want to crack to pump Goyf? Yeah, I mean, remember, given the food gaining life, it doesn't actually shorten the clock at all. So I may want the card off of it. They revealed Oval Chase Daredevil. How's your redeems? Drink some water. I definitely should. Alright, what did they ditch? Urborg. Just gonna cast a Daredevil. Alright, so attacking for 6. I guess if we Ashiok mill ourselves, they can gain 3 again. I guess they could actually gain 6 here, paying for 1 of them off of the trail. So if they gain 6, they're at 17. I should probably just Ashiok target myself, see if I can grow Goyf any. I guess I could also just Spellbomb first to see if I hit something more relevant. Maybe I hit like another Goyf or another, or just really any threat that would have me wanting to apply more pressure.
Hey, do you have the charger?
No, I don't.
No?
No,
Yes,
I don't.
Which one?
I don't. I need you to let me.
Okay, so what? Okay.
Alright, so let's attack. And then get Grist is kind of more pressure, so I guess I'll play that. Start going up with it. Yeah, and I should have done this first too, because we actually would have ended up growing the Goyf. So I missed a point of damage. Playing a little loose, unfortunately. Oof. I got my head in the game. So we still have an attack for 5, 8, 9 at a time. Alright, they've just conceded. Works for me. Yeah, we needed to apply pressure while they had their engine going, because they were doing a lot of wheel spinning, and we just needed to make sure we could stay ahead. Oh, I should be playing the Voidwalker, because it's Grave Hate. I don't know why I ever took that out. Yeah, I just assumed the clock wasn't fast enough and forgot about the other text. Fast and loose, fast and loose. Let's take out a card off of the top. Just I kind of think I want to stay. I think I want to stay as interactive as possible to make sure they can't combo as quickly as possible. I think I'm going to take out a red and 6 as well because it really doesn't kill anything. It's cutting 2 green cards though, so forces are going to get weaker. I'll have to be careful of that. You want me to take out the Grist? That's also reasonable. But I mean, I like that Grist can provide a clock, and it's also one of my few good ways to kill the Troll King. Because Liliana won't do it when they have just a billion other creatures in play. So I think Grist is one of the only good ways I have of killing the Troll. It's actually just that and Terminate. So I don't think I can really afford cutting the Grists, unfortunately. Well, we've got the ley line again. We've got the force as well to deal with their various artifact pieces. We are not with a green card though. We've got our untapped Triome here. So they've got Trail of Crumbs, Troll King, Bone Shards. So this is discard a card or sacrifice a creature. Destroy a creature or planeswalker. I think I'm just taking the Trail again. We've got the Force for the Trail. But these Troll Kings really are not going to be good as long as we've got this ley line. This doesn't hit enchantments or anything, right? It's destroy a creature or planeswalker. Yeah, I think I'm just taking the Trail again. That was the card that had me in greatest contest last game. They can make another food off of Goose. Well, there's the green card for the force. I don't think I'm forcing 2 food, but I mean I don't have many other good options. Let's just Thoughtseize here. Probably just play other Blood Crypt tapped. Right, dismiss. Yeah, I mean I guess a way I could lose is they just get to the point where they're casting Troll Kings from their hand. But I mean, they're more quickly gonna just cast an Oval Chase Daredevil, so maybe I should just take that. I guess Bone Shards is a way for them to interact if I draw a Planeswalker, which I don't want them to be able to interact with. So I mean, on the basis that I should be able to pretty easily deal with the Daredevil, maybe I should just take the Bone Shards, and I think I'll do that. We'll play this tapped. So we've got Force up, should we really need it? Let me not yield because I've got force. They drew the Trail again. Brutal. I mean, we've got the force for it. Saga? Yikes, that was a really good rip. Jeez. This Saga is going to be a problem. I guess I'm killing Goose and shattering a food. When am I testing the monkey? As soon as I can get copies of it on Mana Traders. I've yet to be able to actually acquire any. So let's shock this bird and I guess kill an artifact. So artifact and 2. This Urza Saga was a pretty nutty rip. They could just play a Will Chase Daredevil now. If they do that, I could just stomp it. I think they're more likely to just activate this, though. Spellbomb doesn't really do a whole lot here. I think I'm just going to try to apply my own pressure, which means I'm casting Bone Crusher just as a 4/3. Are you insane for disliking renting cards and only buying them? I mean, if you're only going to play one deck ever, that's a fine way to go. But if you like testing out a bunch of cards and playing a bunch of completely different decks, I think it makes a lot more sense to not spend thousands of dollars on cards when you could just spend like 30 a month. Because like the amount of time that it takes for that $30 to accumulate to what you would have spent on just buying all of the cards, it's many, many, many years. And then even after those years have passed, it's pretty likely that the format will have changed / there are just new things you need to buy. Like Modern now is completely different than Modern 3 years ago. So they can discard a food to grow this. I think what I'm going to do is just block, and then when they go to discard a card, I can then shatter this construct, shatter the cookbook, and then the board will be empty. And I've got Bloodbraid as a decent threat, assuming I find a land. Alright, so let's kill this. I would like to kill the trail as well. They don't have an outlet to creating more food, though, so I think it's still probably fine to kill these two. I'm ditching the Bloodbraid as well, which means I don't actually have another threat. This is still going to trade. They ditched Daredevil. So their hands is 2 Troll Kings. Action, please. I just need threats. Could have been worse. No land to buy back, unfortunately. Yeah, I mean, they're just going to cast these Troll Kings at some point. They're a turn off now. Guess let's lead here. Try to draw something. That doesn't count. Yeah, I mean, I think my error must have been... Ooh, that was lightning. I think my error must have been trading for that smaller construct, because I just don't have any pressure. And I didn't have another good green card to pitch. Like, had I Bloodbraided here, I think I would have been maybe having a chance at winning, but these trolls are just going to come down and kill me. This is kind of what I said was gonna happen. Like I'll disrupt them early, but they're just gonna cast the stupid trolls. I've got Terminate as an out, but even then, they just have another one and they can just go off with their stupid trail. Could not find pressure. Ooh, 0-2. Not great. I mean, these were both matches where I had sideboard cards, and then I should have played them better. So, I mean, I think these two losses were on me. I don't really think I should slam on the deck because I'm losing. I think I'm just making a lot of loose play. Like, that force would have been a lot better had I just not tried to block with that Bone Crusher originally. Yep, this hand's fine. It's kind of on the painful side. I guess turn 1 will be a Blood Crypt. Tron again. I guess it could be Eldrazi Tron. It'll be another good indication of our sideboard cards. Mox Tantalite is not one that I've seen a lot of. Good old-fashioned Tron again. Only one Tron land, though. Well, usually I would want to get the card advantage engine going, but versus Tron, I think I need to apply as much pressure as I can as quickly as possible, so I think that's going to lend more towards me playing a Tarmogoyf. Don't know why they're playing Mox Tantalite. Maybe they're just trying to live the dream of playing something ahead of curve. But I mean, the whole deck is playing stuff ahead of curve. Like, they can only get this into play on turn 4 if they've got it on turn 1. Sure. Blackleaf Cliffs. So, I would love to be able to get a Grist going. I could Ren and 6 ping this Ballista out of the way, though, which would let me get in for more damage now. I mean, if that's the case, I'm just going to Ren and 6 go up and push the Ballista, because the push ain't doing much else. So I guess that's the plan. Like, maybe I need to just start Ren and 6 minusing at the opponent's face. I think that's honestly what I'm going to do. I've got my land, so let's just go down. We need every point of damage we can possibly get. Get in for, what is it, 5 now? It's a pretty decent chunk. Yeah, Jund Trophy Dream's still alive, though. You got 5 mana. Just continuing to do nothing. Well, I guess now I'll go with the Grist plan. I guess once again, I could sacrifice the Peatland first, because if I find another copy of Tarmogoyf, I'm probably going to be wanting to play that. But if I don't find it, then I can't play Grist, and I feel like I just want to get the Grist down, because even these things can start attacking. So I think I'm just pinging them again and attacking and playing the Grist. And then I want to do this first in case I am able to add a type for the Tarmogoyf to attack for an additional point. Also, Grist kills Karn. So they might actually just be forced to use whatever they have to get rid of the Grist, which means that the remaining my remaining attack force can just kill them. This attacks for 5, 6, 7. We're 1 off. But then we run in 6, ping them dead. So we do actually get there. This is a Wormgoyle, which makes things harder. Just Ballista for 3. Think we can beat that. Sure. So the way this works is it's a minus, and then once the ability resolves, you may then sacrifice a creature. So if I minus it and they ping the insect in response, I could just say no, and then I can play other insects to finish it off and then get an attack for 5. So I think that's the line. At least with the information I've got right now. Yeah, I still think that's the line. We're at 6 now. So yeah, I think I'm just leading on minus. Can't they just ping the Grist with the Ballista? I mean, they can, but I still have the ability waiting to resolve. So, I mean, I'll still be able to get the Ballista out of the way. That resolves. So then I'll just say no to this. Get this out of the way. Sure. And I guess I'm live to just drawing Lightning Bolt immediately, but that's kind of always going to be the case, so I'll just do it at the end step or in response to anything ridiculous if I have to. Like, they could play a Karn here. Or now they can really play a Karn here. Oh, they got Allah's Dust? That's stupid. Well, that could be the thing that kills me. I need to find something with haste or just burn spells here. Not quite. I mean, I guess they have to use the Karn to minus on that, which keeps me alive. Darn, I don't have enough black to do it all. I have 4 black sources here. I mean, I kind of feel like I have to use the Liliana to get rid of this Karn. Like, if I Douthie Voidwalker, they have to minus the Karn to get rid of this. But then when I Liliana Plus, they still just have a Karn in play. So I think I have to get rid of the Karn. Which means I'm ditching basic mountain. Yeah, quad black is something I was not prepared for. So I have to brick a card off of the top. Jeez. That is the opposite of a brick. I don't think there's something I could have done differently. I mean, every single point of damage that I could get, I went for. We're at exactly 10, too. It's like we can't even just take the hit and then attack them. I mean, we're alive to, like, just finding a burn spell. The thing is, this can't block because it has shadow. We just have to hope they don't see that. If they attack, we die. We literally cannot block. We almost had it. Alright, Charmaw back in. Forces back in. Magic Online wants to keep up. Come on. There we go. Then we get to take out all of the removal again. And then one more. We've got one land, but we've got infinite sideboard cards. Thing is that we don't even have another green card to pitch to this. We just have to ship it. This is a lot better. So the plan is turn 1 Thoughtseize, turn 2 Tarmogoyf, turn 3 Charma, which means we just don't really have room for this Voidwalker. They've got Mox, Tantalite, Karn Liberated, Allah's Dust. They've got one Tron land. So Tantalite does get to ramp them, but I feel like I really just don't care about that. I think it's going to be between Karn and Allah's Dust. Allah's Dust is their better catch-up card. I mean, I can attack the Karn pretty well, assuming I have 2 threats in play by the time they get to Karn. I think I'm taking Allah's Dust. It also makes Goyf really big really quickly because it's tribal. So it's Goyf time. Guess we'll just shock. So if they play a colorless land, we get to be very ahead. They do. You drew the Force as well. Alright, well let's for sure just cast this. Hit the one they've found more recently. And we could also just hard cast this Force of Vigor next turn, or starting next turn. Yeah, this was a pretty awful Tron hand, you're right. I mean, they did mulligan once. They had some alright payoffs. So we're attacking for 7, which means that would put them to 10. So casting Bone Crusher does have us just killing them next turn. So let's do it. Yeah, this game feels like it's on the overside. They can get up to 4 mana here. I don't think that's enough to do anything. Yeah. Don't really think I'm making many changes. I think I kind of want to just keep it as is. Hope that we get another early sideboard card. We have no sideboard card. We have triple Inquisition. This feels like it's got to be a mulligan. We just don't have any pressure. We don't have any meaningful hate, and we're missing lands. We're just missing far too much. Okay, we've got turn 1 Thoughtseize, turn 2 Ren and 6, turn 3 Ashiok. Is there any chance that's good enough though? I think I'm just gonna have to hope that it is and get lucky. Like we've got Grist to deal with some of the Planeswalker payoffs. think I have to keep the Liliana. I think it's like, what planeswalkers am I keeping? Definitely keeping Thoughtseize, definitely keeping Ren. So it's like, which two of the three here? I think I have to keep the Ashiok because it's my only semblance of a real hate piece, and then maybe we get to ultimate a Liliana to keep us ahead. But Grist is our only source of actual pressure. They're on the play. Given they're on the play and haven't mulligans, I think I'm going to prioritize keeping the Grist. Yeah, both hands would have been better on the play. Being on the play, period. Every hand would have been better. Hit the Mox again. Alright. I mean, they didn't have turn 1 anything, which is interesting. We drew Inquisition. I guess I should just lead on the Inquisition. It's not actually confirmed that it hits anything. In fact, it's going to be a pretty big disaster if it doesn't. They didn't have a map. They didn't have an egg or a star. Please hit something. Cool. So they've got Karn, and some Tron lands. Am I playing any Ragavan? Unfortunately, Mana Traders has not yet had any copies of the card to lend out. So I am not currently playing Ragavan, only because I have not been able to get them. Let's get this Renin 6 going. I could Thoughtseize the Karn, but they just have a backup Karn, so it doesn't really feel like it does much. Say yes. And then let's hope they don't just rip the Tron land off of the top. They would have to rip back-to-back Tron lands for that to be good, and they've hit one of them. Yeah, Mox does seem bad. That said, I'm happy the opponent has had it all 3 games, because it's been a non-card all 3 games. Did you rip the Tron land? They did not. They ripped a map. So they get to Karn me next turn. They've got 2 Karns, so there's not even a way around it. I could cycle Forgotten Cave and try to rip another copy of Thoughtseize. You know, I could also just play the Grist. Grist means that they're going to have to use the Karn to get rid of the Grist, or else we just get to use the Grist to kill the Karn. It's not great, but it's about the only hope that I have outside of trying to spike another Thoughtseize. And I'll play this so I can continue getting value off of the Ren. Like, I could Ashiok in an attempt to stop them from searching, but they would just respond and they would still have the Tron. How many Ragavan would I run? Well, I'm honestly not sure that it's even going to be good in the traditional Jund shell. Not to say other changes can't be made in an attempt to try to support it more. But I mean, for testing purposes, I'm going to play as many as I can get my hands on, just so I can see it as often as possible. Just had the All Is Dust, of course. Alright, well, I guess now I'm on rip second copy of Thoughtseize or bust. I could Ashiok, but that doesn't really do much. They just Karn it. I guess what land do I use for it? I guess if I'm trying to draw another Thoughtseize, then I should just use the Stomping Ground. Then I have to fetch shock if I find a Goyf. I mean, I can afford doing that anyway, so let's just use the Stomping Ground. Thoughtseize, please. Nope. So do I want to just get Ashiok in for no gain? I feel like that doesn't really do much. Let's, I guess, just Thoughtseize the first copy. And then try to draw our way out of beating the second copy. All right, we got to draw our way out of dealing with a Karn. Isn't thinning with a fetch correct? I mean, that's what I did, right? Did I not do that? Yep, there's the Karn. Before the cycle. Oh. Yes, I could have. My quality of play today has not been great. Is it better to aggressively bolt against blitz or to hold the bolts? I feel like that matchup is a lot about picking what to target with what. So the bolts I typically try to reserve for only Stormwing Entity, just because there aren't very many other good answers in the deck. I mean, if the opponent is within range of just dying, then yeah, I tend to be pretty aggressive, but only if I'm also attacking. You think Ragavan will be banned in 2 months at least? Most powerful card in Modern right now. Played against Blueback Mill deck with a ton of counter spells, which played turn 1 Ragavan. Nothing you can do to stop it. I mean, my inclination would be that Ragavan actually isn't that good. It's a pretty fragile game plan. I tend to not like the whole dies to removal argument, but I do think there is a difference between dies to literally every piece of removal ever printed, or just dies to some of it. And Ragavan does die to like all of the removal ever printed. Like, it seems like it's going to be great only if you're on the aggro plan, but if you're not on the aggro plan, Ragavan seems a lot worse. And a lot of the time, Jund is not the aggro deck. Alright, we took bolts out of the deck, so we can't just, like, draw a bolt. We need to find Bloodbraid, basically, is where we're at right now. Bloodbraid? That ain't gonna do it. I guess if I sacrifice Peatland and find a Goyf, I could play that, but then I'm not playing Ashiok. But again, playing the Ashiok now just really doesn't do anything. So let's, I guess, try to find a Goyf, maybe pressure the Karn. A little late on that. They can just use their Forest or their Mox to get their spells through. Ragavan will always be the target of removal through keeping your other creatures safe. I mean, you can only play so many creatures without making the rest of your deck worse. Like, in the context of prowess, in the context of prowess, like, you need a critical mass of spells. Like, at a certain point, you have to stop playing threats. So, I mean, your threat density isn't really going up just because another creature is good in the deck now. You still have to replace something else, or else you're making the rest of your deck worse. Alright, well now I'll Ashiok because I have literally nothing else to do. I'll mill myself because if I find a Goyf, maybe it pressures their Karn a little bit. Milled a Goyf and a Bloodbraid. You're with All-Time Legacy, you think it's great. I mean, I'm not saying that it's not great. I'm just saying, like, on paper, I don't think it's fantastic, but I'm definitely open to being proven wrong. It's kind of hard to be proven wrong, though, when you can't get your hands on the cards. I would love to be able to try Ragavan, I just can't find one. You don't want to cast your Ballista into the Void Mirror? Brutal. 0-3. Well, I mean, the good news is we've been getting a fair idea of the power level of the various sideboard cards, and they have looked good. But as has been the case for literal years, one piece of hate usually isn't enough. Look at some Jund 5.0s. I'll see Ragavan on those lists. I mean, if you want to link me to a couple, that'd be great. I guess it's actually easy to find now because Jund has re-entered the 5.0. I can take a look off of my other screen over here. Let's see. TG Modern. Let's go first. Yep, we've got a Voidwalker on too. Hopefully that's good. So I think I'm gonna lead on Blackleaf Cliffs. I could shock, but then I'm giving away that I've got removal on one, and like I'm gonna be paying 2 anyway, so let's just not. All right, so here are, I guess we'll do a real quick sidebar. Here are the MTG Goldfish list. This is the first one that popped up. No Monkey. No Monkey. This was a 3-1. 4 Monkey. Here's another 5-0. No Monkey. So none of the 5-0s so far have had Monkey. No Monkey. None of the 5-0s are playing Monkey. I don't know what you're referring to. All right, so we're gonna get paid off for having waited here. I'm gonna use the push here because again, as we discussed in the last match, I tend to like leaving the bolts available for killing Stormwings because there aren't very many good answers to it otherwise. Alright, we drew Swamp. I guess that means we get to painlessly play a Voidwalker. Remember, Voidwalker cannot block unless the other creature has Shadow. You linked me a list? Alright, let's... Yeah, Yamakiller. I mean, you can hand Yamakiller a ham sandwich and he'll probably 5-0. That dude is insane. The list you linked me though, that's not actually a list. That's just a Twitch link. I clicked on it. It's just like taking me to their stream. So I could go for the bolts, but again, mutagenic growth kind of just blows me out. So let's go for the thing that doesn't have me getting blown out, which would be Liliana. Liliana also just the best at its best when you can do this onto an empty board. So let's just do that, and then attack with our Shadow, or our creature with Shadow, is what I mean. It's a video of them playing it. They're not currently live. Oh, I see what you mean. Let me fast forward, I guess. Find a point where the deck list is displayed. Alright, I'm gonna Liliana again, I think. If they've got the mutagenic growth, it would really suck for me. Could also just Bloodbraid, but I really want to keep this board empty. They've already used their their dart, right? What kind of counter is this? I don't get it. I'm confused. I mean, this is Exile. Don't know what kind of counter that is. It's a void counter? Oh, yes, that makes sense. Thank you. Makes the sense to me. Alright, I'm just gonna play this tapped. It'll be unfortunate if this means that they get to kill my Liliana. That's not even a big deal. They've got 3 cards left. They're already kind of low on gas. So I guess let's just keep this popped up so we can keep in mind we can cast that stuff. Alright. So here is the Yama Killer list. Shout out to Yama Killer. So they are playing 4 Ragavan, and then I guess what other threats? Still 4 BBE, still 4 Bob, 2 Voidwalker, 2 Croxa as well. Yeah, I mean the list looks tight. My main concern with Ragavan is it's going to be really excellent when you're on the beatdown plan, but a lot of the times Jund is kind of incentivized to be on the control deck plan. That said, it may be true that playing Ragavan will just make us want to be aggro more often than not. But we're pretty slow aggro deck. I mean, even in value-oriented matchups, Ragavan does have the text where it's able to effectively accumulate cards, but it has to be able to connect to do that. So when it comes to board stalls created by Jund, mirrors, or just mid-range mirrors in general, even counting Shadow in this I guess analysis, like having to connect with the opponent in order to generate cards is a lot worse than just sitting back on something and allowing it to generate cards on its own. With the example, what I'm trying to indicate at is something like Red and 6 or Bob. Alright, so land's good. That means we get to both Blood Braid and Bolt. Let's just go ahead and do this first. I guess I'll get Basic Forest. We've already got 4 black. Alright, so let's turn up the heat. It's a Vegas doing alright. Not a super stellar league at the moment, but still having some fun. Alright, let's just attack. So Voidwalker has looked pretty decent here. It's been 3 a turn unblockable. It's done a good job at interacting with the opponent's graveyard. They were not able to use second half of Lava Dart because of it. Yeah, I'm aware that Ragavan generates mana. I'm saying that my big concern is that it's only good a lot of the time on the first turn. So it's like that's one of the reasons why I didn't want to play Ignoble is that it looked great on the first turn, and then every turn after that it was pretty unimpressive. That said, the ceiling on Ragavan is much higher than the ceiling on Ignoble. Yeah, we're playing the Voidwalker Vegas, but only because finally we were able to get copies. Mana Traders has been pretty reluctant to buy a bunch of the more expensive stuff while it's so expensive. But I mean, they should probably just bite the bullet and get more. I mean, maybe it's more a case of they just can't get the copies themselves, but I feel like that's probably not the case. So they are targeting the Voidwalker. I mean, that's killing Voidwalker no matter what. So any spell now saves the Soul Scar. But I mean, if I do it now, I'll have a good attack. I still don't want just any spell saving it, though, so let's just do this. I guess I could have just bolted it in response to Wild Slash, which would have achieved both purposes, so that was maybe just a small misstep. Let's sack this first. See what we can find. Yeah, Ragavan does have dash, I'm aware, but that doesn't affect the fact that if the opponent's got any amount of creatures in play, it's going to be really hard to connect. Alright, so let's do this now. Yeah, I guess I could actually attack first, but assuming I get the attack through, I can't connect if I don't try for this now. Saying Ignoble would be nice in some kind of mid-rangey value town deck. If the value involves needing lots of mana, I can see where Ignoble would be applicable, but if you're kind of counting traditional Junds like the version that I'm playing as a mid-rangey value town deck, we've tried it and it hasn't been good. Alright, so killing Bloodbraid's a good sign. You're testing 4 Iggy, 2 Dauthi, 1 Tarak, 1 Ooze, 4 Timo, 3 BBE, 1 Crusher. Ragavan good, but for your mentality, you prefer to stay safe with Iggy. Doesn't need to connect to do something. I mean, the issue is that, like, when Iggy does nothing, it does actual nothing. Like a lot of the times for me, like, in my experience, it has just been worse than a land a good amount of the time. You want me to avenge your losses to Blitz? I think Blitz is a pretty fine matchup as long as they don't draw, like, the top heavy part of Expressive Iteration. Like, they don't just draw a bunch of iterations and can outvalue you. Like, I think Stormwing Entity is their best creature, so if you save the Bolts and the Lilianas for those, it becomes much easier. Alright, I like the Brutality. I like the Spell Bomb. It can make them use their Lava Darts awkwardly. And it could also mess with their Bedlam Revelers if they're playing it. Leyline of the Void does something similar, but it's a pretty terrible draw. Yeah, these are about the only 4 that I'm actually excited about bringing in. Let's cut the Thoughtseizes. Honestly, the Voidwalker does not seem that good. It just does not block, and we're going to be playing the role of the control deck, not the aggro deck. So I think I like this configuration. I'm not super excited about things like Kolagon's command. 3 mana to shock does not seem very exciting. Saying this, just testing, but can think that maybe we don't need dorks if we can curve out easy anyway. Yeah, exactly. Like, in my experience, like, curving out, like, onto it, like, playing a Grist or a Liliana on turn 2 is great, but a lot of the time that's not even the end all be all. Like, that's like the best case nuts, and the best case nuts is just good. It's not even nutty, you know. And then so, like, when the best case is fine, but the worst case is abysmally bad, I feel like the potential reward does not outweigh the more than likely risk. That's been my experience, at least. This hand's so close. I think I'm gonna ship, with the main reason being, if we had like a Goyf or something, I think this would be a closer keep. But we're missing both lands and threats. So, like, even if we find the land and get lucky, we could still just sputter out by not being able to apply pressure of our own when we're trying to get off the back foot. Alright, well, this is a pretty similar situation. I mean, I'm going to keep it. I've got the Goyf that I was hoping to have last hand. We have 2 things to do on the 1 mana that we've got. I guess I'll just bottom one of the expensive things. And then hope our removal can buy us the time to find our green source. They did mulligan once, which will help. Cool, we found it. That's a relief. It's even a black source for the Liliana. So I think I'm just gonna be planning on pushing. Lead on Blackleaf, say go. Because again, I want to save the bolts for things like Stormwing Entity. Having Liliana means maybe I don't have to do that. Bolt is weaker to getting protected from getting protected with the mutagenic growth, so I think push is definitely the better removal spell outside of Stormwing, but I still think it's good to have a backup answer to the Stormwing. Nothing. Wow. So there's already instant and creature in the yard. So if they have a lightning bolt, they can actually just kill my Tarmogoyf. I don't think I'm wanting that to happen. So let's just go Tomb tapped and say go. My Goyf is pretty valuable, I think. Land go? Jeez, what is their hand? Alright, well, having drawn a land, this means that Goyf won't just die to a lightning bolt. So now I think I'm going to go Tarmogoyf, hold up the bolt. I could Liliana plus. I mean, given that they've done nothing, not even play a creature, my read would be that their hand is all, like, just reactive burn spells. So I don't think I want to throw a Liliana out into the void when it can pretty easily just get burned down. I would be less wanting to do this had I not had a Bloodbraid as a backup threat, but given that I've got a Bloodbraid, I'm okay, I think, if the opponent wants to 2-for-1 themselves, getting rid of Goyf. Yep. So the read has looked pretty correct so far. In the dart, yep. Saying turn 1 discard 2, turn 2 Dalthi / Tarmo / run in 6, don't know honestly. Turn 3 Lilligust. Yeah, like our curve out is already good. Like we don't really need to play a card that's gonna be bad often. Just so we can maybe get a little bit farther ahead when we don't really have an issue already. So the options here are hold up Kolagon's commands to buy back Goyf and something, or just shock to play a Bloodbraid. Again, my read is that they have just more burn spells, and with that being the read, I think I like just using the Kolagon's command because Goyf is likely to Bloodbraid is just likely to die anyway, and if I don't get to hit another threat, it's not great. Neldai, thank you for the follow, I appreciate it. Alright, so I guess we'll just have the opponent discard a card. They're probably with lands in hand, anticipating something like this. But I mean, with Liliana eventually going to be going upstairs, it's probably better to start working at their hand now. So return a creature and you discard. I guess we could get Spell Pierce. They could have something reactive like that. You think that Dalthi is the biggest up for the deck? Also, Tarak or Grist must not be underestimated. I think in a heavy graveyard meta, Dalthi is going to be good. But outside of expecting lots of graveyard decks, I don't even think Dalthi is that good. It's a similar. My argument is similar to the argument of Ragavan, where it's going to be really good when you're trying to be the beatdown. But when you're not on the beatdown plan, it's very, very weak because it's great at attacking. It's an evasive attacker, but it literally can't block. So when you're trying to be beatdown, it seems good. But when you're not trying to be beatdown, which is pretty often, I still don't like it. So Goyf gets 2-for-1s again. I guess they've already got Lava Dart in the yard, so that's not even necessarily the case. I think I'm just going to Bloodbraid here and hope we hit an additional threat. Oops. That kind of counts. I guess they could send the bolt at it while Bloodbraid's still on the stack. You want to bolt the Wren? I feel like I'm just pulling farther and farther ahead. I mean, I could still conceivably fall behind to something like a Bedlam Reveler, but I've got answers to it if that's what happens. I just need to hope that what they would reload with isn't insane. They didn't kill this. That doesn't necessarily mean that they don't have more removal. It's like, when they're at 20, this really doesn't mean a lot, when a lot of their stuff could just outsize this anyway. You shaved like $35 in a week. Say that until you pulled one at a sealed event. Yeah, I mean, the first few days, the cards are always going to be ridiculously expensive. But I think Ragavan's still like 60-something ticks. Alright, and they've added sorcery, so Goyf pretty large now. I think that's just a good reason to just play the Goyf. I'll still attack first, see if that evokes anything. You got a deck on sketch and a Garth you need to move ASAP. Yeah, I probably would try to move that as soon as possible. Alright, so let's go hold up a bolt. I could play the Blackleaf Cliffs just to continue having more mana available. But if I'm going to start going up with Lilianas, maybe I want to have cards in hand. But I think these Lilianas are both destined to just come into play after the opponent has already played something. So I think playing the land is fine, because I'm going to want to be able to cast multiple spells, assuming I find interaction that costs more mana. And Keko, thank you for the follow. I appreciate the support. This feels like it's going pretty well, though. Iteration's usually pretty scary, but while we're ahead on board, I feel like it's less scary. They put an opt into exile. Sure, they're just doing wheel spinning. Yeah. Hey, we're on the board. Yeah, I mean, I think this is a league where I could have probably been 3-1. I definitely messed up the first match. Or at least I messed up game 2 versus Tron. My sideboard cards would have been better had I just played to my outs and tried to top deck the red. So I mean, I definitely messed up game 2 of match 1. And then match 2, I think I definitely could have played a little bit differently to maybe have a different outcome. So I mean, this is a league where maybe we're 3-1, but not the way my boneheaded brain has wanted to play it so far. Be back in about 5 seconds, or maybe longer, like 20 seconds. You want to interrupt that? Yeah,
You gonna be done by 6?
probably.
I'll just do a lunch and we're gonna almost order pizzas that we're gonna have.
Order or like use that?
Don't take this for our personal pizzas.
No, I'm saying like we'll use that before they get here.
Well, it's 5 basically.
Well,
Put
I'm
them
saying
in
you
the
can
oven now.
you can try to coordinate that while I'm doing this, like with them.
Okay. I can do that too. My mom just got another cat.
Oh really?
Baby kitten, like the ones you saw. She just got a little baby kitten.
Oh, I forgot to join the match. Let's rejoin. All right. Well. Okay. Yeah. Just let me know. Okay, thank you. All right.
What are you doing, Dad? In? Out?
Alright. This is a 2-3 record in Abzan Trophy at KO Diamonds. Ask them, I don't know. Yeah, you did make it in time to watch the last one. Alright, well, I'm gonna keep. It's not super exciting. This goes. I think the Douthie is gonna do a lot of what I kind of just described, which is it's gonna look pretty great if we're able to be on the beatdown plan, but if we're not on the beatdown plan, this card looks a little silly. Hollowed Fountain tapped. Okay, maybe we're beat down. More lands, not good. This could be Esper control. Could be blue-white control. Those would be the two front runners in my mind. Mr. Gray Fox, thank you for the follow. I appreciate the support. Alright, so they've got Counterspell available now. It's gonna be kind of hard to not just slam the Grist. There's so many things that could answer it, though, which is unfortunate. Our hand is basically nothing at this point. I mean, in the off chance they don't have it, the upside of getting this into play is really high. So I guess let's try. I could just try to wait on finding a discard spell. But, I mean, just waiting just has the Grist being susceptible to a bunch of other stuff. Because if we wait until they've got 3 lands in play, then there's Archmage's Charm that does it. If we wait until 4, then there's Cryptic Command that does it. So, I mean, waiting for discard just does not seem that good. I'm trying to make Jund great again, Mr. Gray Fox. I'm trying. Is Abundant Harvest something that can be considered? I have not tried it, but from what I have heard, it's not great. You could maybe down the land count. But it doesn't seem great. It's gonna do a lot bad at the same time it does a lot good. Like while you're improving the consistency, like your overall consistency, you're also gonna make a lot of your other cards worse. Things like Bloodbraid are gonna see a decrease in value because like what if you just hit it? Just like drawing a card is a lot worse than playing a card for free in the case of Bloodbraid. Speaking of the devil. Alright, well I guess we're playing that right now. Bloodbraid was like, I heard you talking smack about me. Ooh, a Bone Crusher. Let's just cast it as a 4/3, I think. Yeah, Control is gonna hate Grist, yeah. This is game 1. And, Mr. Shizniz, thank you for the follow, I appreciate it. In. Build a Lily, sure. Alright, well we've drawn pretty hot and they haven't had counters. Draw 2. Yep, so this is one of the reasons why we were not wanting to wait on the Grist, and it paid off. Yeah, they do need literal Verdict, but even if they find Verdict, we still have a Grist going. Which, I mean, versus all of the stuff in their hand and our terrible hand, they could maybe easily win. So we would obviously like to avoid a Verdict, and if they don't hit the Verdict, they're just dead on the spot. Wait, sneeze. It's a powerful sneeze. You love and hate to see it. I guess it's Esper. Yeah. Yeah, like Damnation or something. Sure. Stoneforge? Oh, okay. So I guess it's Esper Stoneblade. Would not have guessed that, but at least Terminate isn't completely dead. Right now we've got an attack for 9. They got Batterskull. I mean, they're just dead, right? Yeah, they're just dead. Because I get to terminate this, attack all, and then just ultimate the Grist. So I guess we get to lead here for some free info. Make sure... But we can do like a Force of Negation check here to make sure we actually get to kill Stoneforge. So their hand is not a lot of good stuff. No Force. They got Cryptic, Batterskull, Cauldra Complete, and other BS. Alright, well, we'll just take the Kaya's Guile and then kill them. Coast is clear. Yep. Alright, so blue... it's Esper Control. It's Esper Control. So I like Brutality just as another permission spell versus things like Archmage's Charm and Cryptic. Force of Vigor is going to be good versus the Stoneblade plan, but that's about it. I don't think I want all of them, but it's still probably fine to have like 1 or 2, depending on how much we want to take out. And I'm assuming they're playing things like Snapcaster, so Ashiok's Spell I'm going to be good. And Ashiok's also going to be good at stopping the searches for the various equipment. Honestly, though, our whole deck is kind of good. I think the removal is probably the weakest. Let's, I think, trim... I usually trim like one of each. Like the burn spells go at the planeswalkers like Jaces and Teferis, but they don't kill Batterskull Germs. Fatal Push kills just about everything, but doesn't go at planeswalkers. So I mean, it's a rough balancing act. I think Terminate probably just not going to be good though. It's a pretty expensive 1-for-1. I think I like trimming a Goyf. Just it's going to be a pretty value-oriented matchup. So like being the beatdown, especially while on the draw, I don't think is going to happen a lot. And then Liliana gets weaker versus their various draw twos and Snapcaster Mage. So I think I'm okay trimming a Liliana. And maybe I just cut a Force. Like I think first copy of Force is probably fine just to have more outs to the various swords. But it doesn't seem great, especially when we're not necessarily loose to it to start with. Let's do this. Yeah, I know Aspiring Spike has put a lot of effort into this list, even recording a Channel Fireball video since they got a deal working with them, and that's pretty sweet. -1 Ren and 6 maybe. I think Ren and 6 is probably going to be one of the better cards that we have in this matchup, especially without playing Dark Confidant. Because if we can combo it with one of these two lands, it seems like it's going to be pretty strong. I think I'm going to keep, but I'm not excited about it. And I guess I'll lead on Peatland, because then maybe we get to Dauthi on turn 2. Ideally, we just draw another land. Alright, we drew a Ren and 6. I guess that means I'm just going to play a Forgotten Cave. This is one of the big reasons why I like playing Forgotten Cave over the Barrenmoor, which is the black counterpart, because you cannot cast a Ren and 6 off of a black spell, off of a solely black source. You also can't cast a Voidwalker off of a solely red source, so it's another give and take. All right, let's I guess try to resolve this. No land to buy back. I could go for the check spell. But similar reason why I jammed the Planeswalker last game. Every turn that I wait, we're just opening ourselves up to being susceptible to more stuff. You like Lily a lot in this matchup? I think it's real good on the play. I definitely think it loses value on the draw, especially when like your bigger mana, your bigger, more value oriented stuff is so likely to draw a counter that you're kind of forced to wait until you can pair it with permission. Permission being the discard. Dakon. There's the Dakon. So it pluses to Surveil 2. It enters with the number of loyalty counters equal to the number of lands you control. So I mean, we can use a Bolt and the Ren and 6 to finish this off. We missed on land, but we drew something we could cast. They've got Charm, Push, Snapcaster, Reinforcements. Kind of want to just take a Snapcaster here. Like, if I'm not playing a creature, Timely just doesn't do anything. Snapcaster is long run going to be the most annoying creature. And then Push doesn't really kill anything except for the Voidwalker, but I'm playing the control deck here. I'm not going to be beat down for a little while. So I think it's between just first copy of Snapcaster and an Archmage's Charm. Archmage's Charm is going to be pretty annoying, but even if they find the blue source for Archmage's Charm, Snapcaster is still just better because they get to snap counterspell. Let's just take a snap. Alright, and then ping that, bolt that, go. Saying that Liliana is good versus counterspells. That's not even necessarily true. Like, it's good in that it gets to keep their hand empty, but that's also assuming our hand is relatively empty. And it's hard to play, because like we still have to play the stuff out of our hand. So like as long as we don't have more cards than the deck that's entire purpose is to draw cards, it doesn't seem like it's going to be a super likely route to victory. So they played other Snapcaster. So we can now use the Ren and 6 to ping their Snapcaster to not have to use removal on it. And then I guess we could play a Bone Crusher. Sure. So let's do that. Get a basic swamp. This will give them a push target, but they need Revolt for it to work. You found Liliana to be a bit weak versus Teferian Charms. Yeah, I feel like that goes back to what I was just saying, so I'm glad you agree. Like their counter spells also just draw a bunch of cards. So like maybe a bunch of years ago Liliana was better against counter spells, but now I definitely think it's a lot weaker. Lead on an attack. Sure. And then I guess I'm just going to play Brutality to check the opponent's hand. We know it's going to hit something. Using a Cryptic on this. Counter draw. So I could just play the Voidwalker. But that gives them a pretty easy push target. Thing is, like, even if I use a discard spell, I'm not taking the Fatal Push. I'm pretty likely to just take something like Archmage's Charm. Yeah, let's just use Brutality again. I think I'm gonna go pretty low to do it. Let's get more red. I guess more black. So Blood Crypt. We only have one green. I guess we could get Stomping Ground. No, Blood Crypt still seems better here. Well, if we sacrifice Peatland, then we actually don't have any green. So yeah, let's get Stomping Ground. Say yes. And try again. It's possible it's better to try to pair this with something, but this seems just fine. So I got Charm, Gust, Push. Alright, let's just take the 2-for-1. Keep on chugging along. You thought it was Voidwalker time? Well, that just lets them. That just gives them a very easy target for push, and while we're kind of stalemated, it's kind of a race of who can use the best and most resources the quickest. So playing Voidwalker just is allowing them to be up on an exchange. Like they get the mana advantage by me just allowing them to do that. Take 2. Like, their hand right now isn't even that good. They were going to Timely. Yeah, you wanted to do it in the other order. So now I think it's Voidwalker time. Push is gone. I guess I could sacrifice the Peatland to then buy it back. That seems fine. But then I've got to go to 7 to get the Voidwalker down if they respond with an Aether Gust. We'll just go up again. And then we'll get Voidwalker in. I guess there's a world where they could be playing Mana Leak, but the odds they are so low, especially since Counterspell is a thing now. Alright, cool. Now we get to have Kolaghan's command available at instant speed, and we're just ahead on board now, too. If they go for a Gust on the Renin 6, I think I still want to just redraw the Renin 6, so I'm going to be careful with the timing of this fetch. Because if I just fetch, they could Gust in response. And there's otherwise not really a reason to fetch right now other than just using the Kolaghan's command now. They're casting Timely just for some 3/3s, or sorry, for a few 1/1s. I mean, that's honestly fine. Renin 6 pings them just fine. So their hand is Gust and something. Okay, let's attack because Voidwalker sure as heck can't block. I think I should have probably even just pinged first. I don't want to give the opponent an opportunity to Gust before I use it to kill something. Alright, go. Sure. I mean, I guess I could bolt one of these. Just to keep the Ren 6 alive. Like, it's gonna stay alive, but if I bolt one, I could then ping a soldier and this Ren 6 still lives. Their hand is Gust and something, so I guess if I bolt, they could just Gust. But then I could sacrifice Peatland and redraw it. I do just have a lot of points of burn, including an unblockable creature, so I could just plan on going face. Yeah, let's just let it take the hit. They're just saying go. So if I use the Kolagon's command here, they're definitely gusting, right? Which would mean I attack for 3, ping them, bolt them, shoot them, they die. So let's return Bone Crusher. I guess you discard a card. I guess shock you. So return Bone Crusher and shock you. Here's the Gust, I'm assuming. Alright, and I do kind of want to draw this again. So let's fetch once first, get our mountain, and just bolt them. Saying K command upkeep. I mean, I see no real reason to wait. We could just untap and do it. Ping them. Alright, so now we get to Ren and 6. And then if they try to respond in any way to the ping, we can just Kolagon's command to kill them. I mean, they know about the Kolagon skin because we topped it. Yeah. Alright, so we finished off with the 2-3. We've got a real good number of viewers right now, 120. I want to thank everyone for stopping by. So if you're new here, I record lots and lots of leagues, all of which get posted to my YouTube channel. And you can find the link to my YouTube channel on my Twitch page, or you can just search the name that I'm currently pointing at. But at the end of every league, I like to do a wrap-up. So for the purposes of the recording, let's just go ahead and do that. So our first 3 matches of the league, we started off 0-3. We played against Traditional Tron twice. And I don't remember what the other one was. But anyway, we were finally able to get a good idea of the power level of the ley lines and the forces. Oh, I remember what it is. We lost to the Feasting Troll King Reanimator deck, the one that Doomwake has been putting a lot of work into. I mean, and versus all 3 of those matches, the Tron twice and the Troll King once, in our post sideboard games, we found our hate pieces. But just a single hate piece was not enough to win about half of the time. And that half of the time was game 3. So we ended up not quite getting there versus those matchups despite having a sideboard card. That said, the Forces and the Obsidian Charmas have felt very good. I mean, it's been unfortunate that having just one piece has not been enough to quite get there. But I mean, it's kind of hard to find a more efficient answer than something like Trauma or Force, because Force is 0 mana and you still get to kill 2 things. So I mean, a 0 mana 2-for-2 is kind of hard to beat. And then in the case of Obsidian Charma, I feel like this card is much stronger than something like Pillage, because while it doesn't hit any artifacts, being able to also have it be a 4/4 flyer is really impressive, because when you're playing against something like regular Tron, which we did twice today, you can pillage them all you want. But the entire point of, again, specifically the example of Tron, which we played twice, the entire point of the Tron deck is to assemble Tron. So unless you're also applying pressure while they're trying to scramble to reassemble the Tron, that they can pretty easily, not easily, but pretty reasonably get their feet back under themselves. So having a hate piece stapled to an evasive, heavy hitting threat has felt and theorized to be has been theorized to be and has felt to be very powerful. So I'm still really liking the inclusion of Obsidian Charmaw, and I think I'm going to continue playing it because it has just seemed phenomenal so far. And then again, Force of Vigor, a relatively new include despite being a Modern Horizons 1 edition. But again, 0 mana is kind of hard to beat. Free spells are powerful spells, and one that kills 2 things at instant speed. It just seems very powerful, and it has been powerful. That said, there were 2 instances where we cast Force of Vigor this league where we did not have a green card that we were wanting to pitch. We had green cards to pitch, but there was one game, for example, where I had to exile a Bloodbraid to it, and I really needed that Bloodbraid as a piece of pressure, and then I didn't have the Bloodbraid anymore, and then we couldn't pressure them, and we lost. It goes back to what I was saying, where if we have the hate piece, we need to have pressure in order to leverage the hate, or else they'll just climb right on back. And in that specific game, that was pretty much exactly what had happened. We forced 2 of their important pieces, but then we didn't draw a threat for 4 or 5 turns after that, and they just got their feet right back under them and started casting Troll Kings. So, well, while hate is good, having pressure is equally as important in the spots where you're trying to disrupt and attack. And that's again why I think Obsidian Charmaw is so promising, is because it kind of just does both. Worston, thank you for the follow, and Vast, thank you for the follow as well. I appreciate it. So that's my piece on those 2. But let's talk about some of the new main deck cards. So Dauthi Voidwalker was the first time I was able to try it out, just because there have been Mana Trader stocking issues, and it was good. I mean, it wasn't overly impressive, but it wasn't bad either. I think this card is obviously going to be a lot better when we're taking a more aggressive stance, but when we're trying to be defensive or have a game where we really care about generating some kind of card advantage, Dauthi really doesn't fill in that slot. So I mean, I feel like meta dependent this card could be excellent, but also meta dependent it could be next to unplayable. So I mean, it's gonna be a nice tool to just continue having access to if the situation we think calls for it. That said, I mean, I could be wrong. I've only had it just 1 league so far, and I haven't seen many others play with it. But for me, it has been okay so far. So I'll maintain my hopefulness, but I'm not yet convinced. On the other hand, Grist has continued to be absolutely phenomenal for me. It's not great versus the aggro decks, but even there, it does a decent impression of buying time, because you can just continue generating chump blockers. But versus anything mid-rangey or even moderately slow, Grist has been absolutely phenomenal. And even versus combo decks, we've played against the Reanimator deck over the past 4 leagues, I think 3 times. And Grist has looked really, really good versus that Reanimator deck. Because they reanimate their black Archon that draws a card and has me sacrifice a creature. And I usually just sacrifice an insect. And then I just untap, sacrifice another insect, and kill the Archons. Grist has looked absolutely phenomenal. Versus creature combo, it's been great. Obviously, just I mentioned Reanimator. And then versus mid-range and control, it has also just been absolutely phenomenal. So I think Grist is going to continue to be one of my favorite cards out of Modern Horizons 2, and I'm looking forward to playing with it some more. So that's going to be it for this recording. This one's kind of long. So if you're watching this on YouTube, thanks for staying up until this point. I really appreciate all the support you've been given. And along those lines, if you're not already subscribed to the channel, you definitely should. It's a great free way to support what I do. So until next time, I hope you have a good one, and Jund 'em out.